Oil pastels, using color to create value with Mizzou. In my video where we explored the color wheel using oil pastels, we discussed complementary colors. This is one of the best ways to get a full value scale using just color. In this video, we will be creating value scales using color swatches in 4 different colors, and at the end, we'll be creating a pumpkin together to show you how to put this to use. In your sketchbook, make 4 1" by 7" rectangular strips. The first color that we're going to experiment creating value with is orange. I'm going to start with an orange oil pastel and lay a lot of pressure and therefore a lot of pigment on the right side, gradually lifting and letting more of the paper show through. For the shadow, I'll take a blue pastel, which is the opposite of orange, to create my shadow. Remember, cool colors make for great shadows. Using a lot of pressure to blend, I will go back with my orange to help neutralize the blue a little further. For blending, I can either use the pastel or I can take my finger and smear and rub them together for a smoother look. For this particular value strip, I'm going to use yellow for my mid-tone. Remember, yellow is a warm color and therefore is great for highlights. I'm going to blend again with my orange to make a seamless transition for my gradient here. And then I'm going to end with white, blending all of the color at the end of the strip together to get a bright highlight. You can clean off your oil pastel either by rubbing with your finger or taking a paper towel and wiping out the excess color that's on the end of any pastel. For my next strip, I'm going to use the color red. Just like with the orange, I'm going to start with a lot of pressure on the right. I'm going to lay in a lot of pigment and gradually lift off, allowing more of the paper to show through. And then I'm going to come back on the right side with my green pastel, because green is the complement to red and again is a cool color. The more pressure I use, the darker the red will appear on this right side. And as I want my gradient to lift, I simply use less pressure and follow it up with the red pastel to get a nice, clean, even gradient. To make for a soft transition, I'm using orange as my mid-tone. Again, orange is a warm color and therefore makes for a nice highlight. And I will finish it off again with the white pastel for my highlight. For my third strip, I'm going to use yellow. I'm going to start by laying down the heavy pigment, just like I have for the other two. You have to remember, yellow is a very weak color and is easily overpowered. So the more wax and the more pastel you lay down, the easier it's going to be to keep a nice clean yellow and still get a full value here. Our complement to yellow is purple. We can make purple or we can use the violet that's with the oil pastel set. The more I want it to fade out, the more yellow I'll use. And I can come back with the purple here at the end to intensify and enhance that shadow. And since there's not a color that I can really add to yellow for my mid-tone to make it pop or brighter, I'm gonna follow up for the highlight with simply using white. For our final strip, I wanted to look at a cool color, so we're gonna be using green. I begin the way I have every time, laying in a lot of pigment and wax to the right side and pulling out pressure to show the paper through on the right. For my highlight, I can use yellow again because green is made from yellow and blue, and it will also give us a nice highlight. Finishing it off with a white for a pop and highlight. For our shadow, we know that red is our complement, so I'm going to apply the same technique as I have for the shadow on the other 3 strips, laying in a lot of pressure, blending as I go, to create a nice dark shadow with that complement. Violet could also be used for a more subtle shadow here, as red is the complement to green and violet has blue and red within it. But for the sake of sticking with our color scheme here, I'm using red. This will also give me a little bit more of an intense shadow than the violet would. Now that we've completed all 4 color strips, let's look at applying this value to an object. For this video, we're going to use a pumpkin. I'm going to show you how you can take any image of a pumpkin printed or drawn and transfer it over to your piece of paper. To start, take the image that you're wanting to use and flip it over on the back. With a number 2 pencil, simply lay down a layer of graphite across the back of the paper. This will give you graphite that can be transferred over to another piece of paper. This is called a graphite transfer. Once you have the graphite on the paper, place the image where you'd like for it to be on the picture, and with firm pressure, trace over the lines of your object. When you pick up the paper, a perfect transfer copy will be on the piece of paper. To begin creating value on my pumpkin, I'm going to start with my highlight. So I'm going to use yellow. This is going to be done near the top where the pumpkin is nice and round. By using yellow, our warm color, it's going to help it to pop out even further and help enhance the idea or illusion of the pumpkin being round and give us depth and space in doing so. I'm going to color over the yellow with my orange pastel because this is an orange pumpkin. Moving on to my shadow, I will start at the bottom of the pumpkin with the blue, running along the inner ridge of the next slice of the pumpkin. As I get closer to the middle top of the pumpkin, I'm going to switch from blue to violet. This is because yellow's complement is violet and it's still a cool color. This combination will help create the roundness and dimension that we're looking for in each rib of our pumpkin. I'm going to continue this process for each section of the pumpkin until I get all the way around. To finish, I'll color my stem green. I'll use red at the base for my shadow, and at the top, I'll use yellow as a highlight. Have fun exploring oil pastels. Be brave with your color choices and make great art.